Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:07 on this Monday morning. We're into June, folks. It's the second day of June. Don't know how we got here so fast. Somebody stop this thing. I want to get off. It's insane. Zooming through 2025 at lightning speed, but we're here for it with the front row seat. And this morning, well, it'll be busy because it was a super busy weekend with lots of news. Starting at 6:35, we'll check in with Grover Norquist on the big, beautiful tax cut and where the Senate sits on it. 7:05, Joe DeGenevote will join us. 7:35, Byron York of the Examiner. 8:05, Ron Halber. We speak with him often from the Jewish Community Relations Council of Greater Washington on that horrific terror attack in Colorado. And then at 8:35, Brendan Steinhauser, CEO of the Alliance for Secure AI. I thought for a quick second there it was for Secure Al. And I'm like, who's Al? Julie Gunlock. But then it's not. That's an AI.
Good
that
job.
That would be artificial intelligence. Well, I want Al to be secure. I worry about Al. Al deserves to be secure. Oh, here she goes. She warned me not to make her laugh today because she's got a little bit of you got the summer cold. I hate or spring, late spring cold.
Is there anything worse? Is there anything worse?
Yes, if it's August, that makes it worse. This is pretty bad though.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh no, you have one of those colds and it's mixed with allergies. And she's like, I don't get allergies. Okay, I am a perfect human specimen.
This is the thing. I have no allergies and I have no cavities. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, look at you. Ever?
Yes.
You've never had a cavity?
Never.
Sounds like a challenge.
Seriously.
Well, here she goes. Never done a She's going to start coughing again.
I've been dieting since I was 12, but I have no cavities.
I'm full of saccharin and NutraSweet, but I have no cavities.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, I miss saccharin. Remember saccharin? Thank you to Hans von Spakovsky. I miss saccharin. See, sometimes you can just grab an audio bite from this show and just play it randomly. What
so
the hell
weird.
were they talking about? I so miss saccharin. It was so
I have
good.
no cavities.
Yes. Thank you to Hans von Spakovsky sitting in for me on a randomized Friday that
They
I
had
took off
fun.
because I was in Southern California observing my son's high school graduation festivities. as he is
Last
no
one.
longer-
You are officially an empty nester.
I technically, yeah. Although, EJ, as I mentioned often, is on the autism spectrum and will not be living on his own for quite some time, if ever. So not really an empty nest. In fact, he is filling my nest as we speak because he flew back with me and Meredith yesterday to begin his East Coast summer and maybe more because we're going to figure out. It's like everyone's saying, so EJ, what do you want to do next? What do you want to do next? And he's, he spells out things on he types things and stuff. And his one, I mean, he doesn't say it quite this bluntly, but I'll just say it. His answer is not school.
God.
Yeah.
So, do you remember that? Do you remember that moment where you're like, I mean, it's kind of remarkable when you're done with high school.
When you're done with school and you don't, and
No,
he has no,
well, I mean, I remember the moment I was done with college, and there's this idea of like no homework, which was, or like no studying, which was weird. But
yeah,
I mean, it's a big deal.
Well, EJ's following in my footsteps where I was when I was done with high school. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to take a gap year, and I'm still on it. So I have a sense that EJ will probably do the same. I mean, he did homeschool the entire time because of his special needs. He could have done a more normative school experience, but he would have needed an aide with him and all that stuff. And it's like it just made sense, especially. Thank God, actually, we chose to do this because when the pandemic hit, we were all set.
Oh,
we already knew how to,
and there was no transitioning him to a homeschool setting. Yeah.
Right, exactly. He was already locked in, and he actually thrived, strangely, knowing how many children, especially kids with an IEP and special needs and all the things that EJ has. They struggled during the pandemic, and since EJ was already sort of in the zone there with that stuff, and suddenly all these services are adapting themselves to Zooming and homeschool, he actually thrived. By the grace of God. So anyway, he's in great shape. But yeah, we're going to spend the summer sort of figuring out what his next steps are. His answer is like, what do you want to do next? He says, I want to travel with my family, play the piano, and learn sign language. And he has learned sign language quite a bit. But when he says I want to learn sign language, what he means is he wants everyone else to learn sign language too.
course,
to stay on top, to be able to work with him on sign language, which is what we're doing too. So we'll see what his summer will hold. I have big
congratulations to
dreams for him.
EJ and
Thank
your dad.
you. He's very well. Thanks. It's always weird to take congratulations. It's also funny knowing, compared to his siblings, where his two older sisters and his older brother loved school so much, and it's like now his oldest is now going back for a master's program, starting this fall, and Christian, his older brother, is right in the thick. He's finishing his second year at UC San Diego, and of course Veronica went and got all of her nuclear training, and now she's doing all of her continued learning on a submarine. Yeah.
Listen to you. You're kind of annoying, by the way.
No, I'm not. It's weird. I'd like them all to be done with school. Well, Veronica is done with school. Although, like, when you're on a nuclear sub, you're, like, constantly training and retraining and doing more. It's weird to me because it's like EJ's like me. It's like, all right, I just want to go do things now. I don't want to just... Although, you know what? Working with you, Julie, I feel like I learn something new every day.
How nice. How nice. What did you do? Obviously, we're going to talk after the show. There's a news coming.
But it was very fun, and we had a great time at his party, and a big graduation party. And I got to tell you, we put him in the cap and gown to sort of take a few pictures with people and just sort of pose. He would not take it off. I kept saying, all right, buddy, you can take that off now. And he's like, nope.
Oh.
I'm the grad, man. I'm going to keep it on the whole time. So he wore his little
sweet.
cap and gown the whole time and just sort of did his thing. He's in a happy place.
Except when he was in the pool. I think you tweeted out a picture.
That's true.
Maybe
he did
on
have
Facebook.
his summer has begun. I wish I had a swimming pool in my house, but we know enough people who have swimming pools, and it's one thing that many. I keep calling him a kid. He's 18. People on the autism spectrum have sensory needs, and they love the feeling of various things. And so a swimming pool he loves it when it's like hot out and he's got cold water surrounding his body. He can stay in a swimming pool just messing around, pouring water on his head, and just jumping and like literally for like 6-7 hours at a time. It's insane.
I remember he was out last summer and you were in a pool. And you told me, like, every day it was like 8 hours in the pool.
Yeah, 8 hours. We have to, like, pull him out and get and he's got skin, that gets, like, this deep, rich, dark brown. It's like, what's going on with you, dude? Oh. So we started the weekend when Meredith and I had him over to our hotel, and he was, like, flopping around in the pool in California. And it was great. And now he's ready to start his Mid-Atlantic D.C. adventure. We're going to the congressional baseball game next week. We're going to do all the things, and it's going to be great. And it is weird, you're like, oh, you're done. No, we've got 2 kids going back to college, or one in college, one going back for a master's. But there is something. Talk about a rite of passage when every single one of your children are 18 and done with like mandatory public school. It's like it's to reflect on that as a parent is kind of daunting.
Well, and most of the next steps are their decision. I mean, you can guide them. You're still there for a lot of years, right? They're still, coming home and doing laundry, but it's different. It's so many of these decisions are in their hands now. So
yeah, and
again,
now they're going to find them.
Congratulations to EJ.
Thank you, and to all the graduates out there. I share my news because I know that there are many people listening who are facing the same thing this week and next week as their kids graduate, and it's a new step for all of us. And then next thing you know, they're going to be moving out and getting to the big bad city with their junior executive entry-level job, and their mayor will be proclaiming their town as the gayest city in America as we reflect on Mayor Bowser's proclamation for Washington, D.C. on this month of June. It's Pride Month, baby. Let's get ready. We'll get that next. But first, it's 5:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Well, as much as I'd love to be giving you an update on the second Trump term, for this month, this song has to go back to its natural habitat, which is to be gay. Because it's Pride Month. I thought this was behind us. I thought we'd moved on. But over the weekend, corporations once again had to do their obligatory, flip to a rainbow logo and, proclaim their fealty to all things whatever that you're proud about. And then Mayor Muriel Bowser decided to take it one step further. She proclaimed in an event that, by the way, looking at the picture, hardly an overwhelming turnout, or are these all government employees that identify themselves as not heterosexual? Yeah. Not sure, but the big group of people, and the photograph in front of the John Wilson building downtown. And Mayor Bowser says, it's a great day in the gayest city in the world. Now, if I asked you, what's the gayest city in the world, Julie, would Washington, D.C. be the first one that comes to mind? Oh, Providence, Rhode Island?
Yeah. No, Massachusetts, off the Cape.
Oh, I thought it was, that's Providence,
right?
Yeah. Oh, is it? I don't know.
Okay.
See, that's the East Coast. See, from my perspective, it's San Francisco, West Coast.
Well,
San Francisco,
of course. Sure.
Maybe West Hollywood, maybe Greenwich Village, New York City. And then, of course, there's always Gay Paris. Although, honestly, being gay in Paris is sort of boring at this point. Yeah. I mean, that's just...
So P-Town is Provincetown. I had to look that up.
Provincetown, that's right.
I've always known it as P-Town, but yeah.
Very gay. Well, the Hamptons, Fire Island, Long Island. I'm actually... I'm pretty well versed with all
exactly. Stop. Like, why do I know so much about P-Town? By the way, you said corporations have to do their duty. I'm just taking a little scan over Twitter, which is usually where these new banners, the Pride banners, sort of overlay the normal corporate banner. Larry, not many Pride ones. Target. Last year, 2 years ago, Target was ground zero for gay pride, even, having let's bind the breasts of babies. But today, Target's just the normal bullseye. No pride. Yeah.
Well, I did see posts for Major League Baseball put out their post, and the Nationals and various other entities of sorts. But
I think there's been a lot of pulling back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be nice. Well, thank Robbie Starbuck for that, I guess.
No kidding. Absolutely.
And he's actually announced he put out his own selfie video. They all do selfie videos, about their excitement about gay pride. And we got to get the speaking of Target. There's a woman who was really upset when she went to Target.
Oh, I know.
And they were that there wasn't enough gay stuff, and to make it worse, it was full of American flags.
Ew.
I would play it for you, but I cannot guarantee that there isn't profanity. So let's screen it. We don't want a situation here. But there does seem to be. Robbie Starbuck did his selfie video saying, "Hey, Happy Pride Month." And Robbie Starbuck is, for those who are saying who's that, he is a independent journalist, podcaster, who has taken on these corporations and confronted them, and sort of done what Human Rights Campaign does here, but in the reverse. Human Rights Campaign is a big political action, super PAC, think tank, I guess, for lack of a better term, in Washington, D.C. that pushes the gay agenda on corporations and basically says if you don't dot these I's and cross these T's and turn your logo into rainbow, we're going to boycott you, and we're going to tell all the gay people out there to boycott you and not buy any of your stuff, and you're going to be a pariah. And so, of course, they all knuckle under and do it. And Robbie Starbuck has done the opposite and said, you walk down this path, we will boycott you.
Yes.
Conservatives will boycott you. And Robbie's winning right now. A ton of these companies have turned reverse course on their DEI programs and all that stuff. So that's pretty cool. And then there's this librarian. So you caught this video. Let's take a listen to it. This is a woman who does her selfie video, and she's really upset. She's mocking conservatives and Trump supporters because they never go to the library. Go ahead, take a listen.
You know what I realized today? Something I never see in the parking lot of my local library is a Trump sticker or a Trump flag on any of the cars in the parking lot at the library. Which is if you didn't know where you can go to check out books to read and think critically.
Oh, get it? Because Trump supporters are stupid, right, Julie?
Yes, you get it. Yeah. Okay, so essentially these perverts, I tweeted this, these perverts, they destroy the public library, right? We've got drag queen story. I know David French loves this, right? It's a blessing of liberty. Yes. But most people do not want their children seeing drag queens reading kiddie books. They turn the children's section into one big, library filled with indoctrination. Books by Kendi, books by, basically perverts saying you should challenge you should question your sexuality, at age 2.
Yeah.
And literally, and they do this, they put displays out so your kids can't miss them. Our executive producer, Heather Hunter, she took her kids to the library a couple weeks ago, and she sent pictures to us, and it was revolting.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking at it. There was a book called Queer Mythology, and My Little Golden Book about Pride.
Right.
Remember
We
Little
missed
Golden
George
books? Those are
Floyd.
like for preschools.
Yeah, we missed. These are books for very young kids. Yeah, we missed George Floyd. And I've seen this. So what they do is they make it one of these no-go zones. If you're a conservative or religious parent, you don't go to the library. And then when we don't go, then they make fun of us and say, well, we don't read. It's maddening.
Our kids read just fine. Elon Musk is on our side, okay? By the way, if you're looking for a message on Pride Month launching, check this out. Pope Leo XIV on his X account. I know. Even the Vatican, they have to jump on board. So here's his message. Today's world needs the marital covenant in order to know and welcome God's love and to overcome the forces that break down relationships and societies through its unifying and reconciling power.
I like this guy.
Wait a minute. There's no rainbow associated with that. I like it. It's 524.
Making sense of your world.
I don't know where to begin.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
Thanks for taking my call.
Making sense of the news.
Coming up, we've got some news on DOGE. Don't worry. It is, despite Elon Musk retiring from DOGE, there's still work to be done, and there's some powerful people willing to do it. Keep it here. We'll talk about it. It's 5:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington. A Cumulus Media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:37 now. O'Connor and Company, thanks for tuning in here this Monday morning, second day of June. Coming up at 6:35, Grover Norquist on the big, beautiful tax cut. 7:05, Joe DeGeneva. 7:35, Byron York. 8:05, Ron Halber of the Jewish Community Relations Council of Greater Washington on the horrific anti-Semitic terror attack in Colorado. And then at 8:35, Brendan Steinhauser, Alliance for Secure AI. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
There was quite a bit of activity at the Oval Office on Friday since we last spoke, and that, of course, revolved around the ending of Elon Musk's status as a special government employee. Anybody in the media who's saying, Musk is out, he had a rift, he got fired, he dropped off. No, he was always going to be done by the end of May. We told you that early on. He was a special government employee, just like Anita Dunn was in the Biden administration, although she never seemed to leave. And had access to the auto pen, but that's a whole other story. We'll get to that with Joe DeGeneva. But with Elon Musk, he was a temporary employee, special government employee, and he has now returned to the private sector after doing, I think, an incredibly important patriotic duty, which is to head up a department that still stands and is still active in the federal government and the executive branch, looking at ways to make the government more efficient and cutting out waste, fraud, and abuse. If his entire legacy in the federal government is ending the slush fund that was USAID, he's a hero. I mean, close to Mount Rushmore status as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But there was quite a bit of criticism of Elon Musk, as you know, because people in this town, it's amazing, the swamp likes to protect itself, and he was an existential threat. So they tried to destroy his career, his reputation. And there was also a lot of criticism at the Republican majority for not implementing, as we've been told, many of the cuts that he recommended in the reconciliation package. But I think that that's also a fundamental misunderstanding of what reconciliation is.
Yeah.
Speaker Mike Johnson put out a statement over the weekend that sort of clears things up, saying, first of all, thank you to Elon Musk and the whole DOGE team. Incredible work. But then says this is what the House is going to do. First of all, we eagerly await the White House rescission package. The rescission package, again, listeners of this program know because you're smart and we've been talking about it, is when the administration, the executive branch, goes back to the legislative branch and saying, hey, you've appropriated all this money. We don't want it. We don't need it. We're not going to do that. So please take the money back.
Yep.
And that does not require a supermajority in the Senate to pass, like filibuster proof. It just needs a simple majority. We have the votes, and we should get it done. Republicans should do that. Speaker Johnson said the House is ready for that. Secondly, he's now going to go to the Appropriations Committee, which is the committee that decides how money is spent. And as they're now setting up for the new fiscal year budget and having their hearings, which is regular order, which is what they're supposed to do, instead of a big omnibus package or a continuing resolution, they're going to start talking through at the Appropriations Committee level how to spend the government's money most effectively starting fiscal year 2026, which begins October 1st. That's when this process should begin. Reconciliation was not about that. And so he's ready to implement these changes and cuts and reductions, and let's see how that goes, Julie.
I will tell you, though, this is the Democrats are using this idea that, DOGE cuts aren't happening and there's no intention of making these cuts. It is convincing. It has made several people angry. And so I'm glad to see that Speaker Johnson and also Stephen Miller have come out and explained what you just explained, that this is not, DOGE cuts would not be a part of this reconciliation bill. It would be done through the rescission process. And again, we need, I mean, there are moments where I have said, why isn't this happening?
Me too.
So it's I'm glad they're upfront and they're coming out and they're explaining this to the American public that it's coming.
Yeah, and the first shoe to drop is going to be this rescission package that could actually be delivered to Congress today, we're told. Russ Vought, he was the director of OMB, Office of Management and Budget. That, by the way, is who Elon Musk answered to, theoretically, although we know he probably had a pipeline directly to the Oval Office.
Yes.
But the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, is under the umbrella of OMB. And Russ Vought, who is Senate confirmed, he is actually one of the only or few holdovers from the first Trump administration to operate in the same capacity in the second Trump administration. And he hit the ground running as director of OMB. He's already done quite a bit, but he specifically last week said that this rescission package, which will be delivered to the Senate, requesting that the legislative branch reallocate money or just take money back from the executive branch, that should be delivered today, and that should include the official request to defund the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. That would be PBS and NPR. And there's all indications that that will be in part of this rescission package, and the Republicans are going to have to decide on it. But there will be more. And Russ Vought, although he doesn't do a whole lot of media, he did sit with Dana Bash of CNN for about 5 to 10 minutes. And I want you to listen to a lot of this exchange, because if you think DOGE is dead, well, Russ Vought's got another idea for you. DOGE is very much alive, thanks to our director of OMB, and you'll hear from him next. It's 5:43.
WMAL, making sense of the headlines, because common sense isn't so common. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
All right, are we going to implement the DOGE recommended cuts? Russ Vought, director of OMB, on the potential rescission bill that could be sent today, I believe, with Dana Bash. Let's start. Cut 3.
But I want to talk about what has been going on with DOGE and what Elon Musk has already done. He says it was $175 billion in cuts, and these are cuts to funding and programs that Congress already passed, already signed into law, the law of the land, before you took office. You say that you're going to submit about $9 billion in cuts this week for Congress to approve, to make those cuts that you've already done official, largely in foreign aid and public broadcasting. But you're hearing from members of Congress on both sides of the aisle that they want you to submit approval for all of the cuts that you've done through DOGE. Will you?
We might. We want to see how this first bill does. We want to make sure it's actually passed. It's the first of many rescissions bills. Some we may not actually have to get Congress to pass the rescissions bills.
Why?
Some we have executive tools. We have impoundment, that 200 years the presidents had the ability, and the recognition that they had the ability to spend less than the ceiling. If you have $100 million that Congress says we want you to go and use for particular use, and you can do it less, For 200 years, that was totally appropriate. And since the 1970s, that has changed and has led to massive waste, fraud, and abuse. Secondly, the very Impoundment Control Act itself allows for a procedure called pocket rescissions later in the year to be able to bank some of these savings without the bill actually being passed. It's a provision that has been rarely used, but it is there, and we intend to use all of these tools. We want Congress to pass it where it's necessary. We also have executive tools, and that is something we're going to be working with Congress. But it's very important to pass this bill and to see whether there is a will in both the House and the Senate to secure the votes for it.
All right, let's get more into this because she tries to, again, it's all about gotcha. So go ahead, Dana. Try to get him.
Unpack a couple of things that you said. First, you said that there is 200 years of precedent of presidents taking what Congress passed. And, of course, people who are watching this know that the Constitution says that it is Congress that has the power of the purse, which is why we're even having this discussion.
They have the power.
Well, that's what I want to ask you about. So there's some dispute about the 200 years. But most importantly, a law passed in 1974 because of this dispute that you mentioned, the Impoundment Act. And so because of that law, which has now been in place for more than 50 years, it is the requirement of the executive branch, except for in situations where you're having discussions with Congress, to implement what is signed into law. I know you don't believe that that is constitutional. So are you just doing this in order to get the Supreme Court to rule that unconstitutional?
We're certainly not taking impoundment off the table. We're not in love with the law. It's a law that came after 200 years of precedent in history at the lowest moment of the executive branch. But even the very Impoundment Control Act, notice it's not called the Impoundment Elimination Act. Even Congress at the time realized that impoundments were perfectly legal and appropriate. They were saying the Impoundment Control Act. Even the Impoundment Control Act allows for procedures that both require their assent on a rescissions bill, that's the one that we're sending up early this week, and also allow for pocket rescissions for those that come later in the
say you're breaking.
This gets in the weeds, but our audience is smart enough to get through the weeds. Isn't it lovely, by the way, Julia, to see that Dana Bash suddenly has a newfound interest in pushing the executive branch to enforce laws that are on the books? Where was she about the border? Where was she about, or anything during the Biden administration? But I guess she read Jake's book, so she's
shameless, Larry.
Zeal. Yeah, very shameless. I hope I can get this in time. Cut 5. Listen to this.
Watchdogs have been historically wrong, and that's not going to stop us from moving forward to bank the DOGE cuts.
I want to sort of bring this up bigger picture a little bit, because this is part of a very clear strategy that you have had for years and years and years in order to really cut the federal government and do it in any way you can, and also to pull as much power into the executive branch as possible. You're very open about that. One of the things that you said in 2023 was specific to federal workers. I want to play that for our viewers.
We want the bureaucrats to be traumatically affected. We want, when they wake up in the morning, we want them to not want to go to work because they are increasingly viewed as the villains. We want to put them in trauma.
Is that your goal as OMB director?
Look, I love how you cherry-picked the quote on trauma. What I was referring to there was the bureaucracy. We do believe there's weaponized bureaucracy. We do believe that there are people who have been part of administrations that are fundamentally woke and weaponized against the American people. When you have the EPA put a 77-year-old Navy veteran named Joe Robertson in jail for doing ponds to fight wildfires on his lawn, that's not just the FBI, it's the EPA, and we do want to defund and put those bureaucracies out of business. But I have great people at OMB, there are great people at the FAA, there are great people at the NIH who are...
And we don't have time to finish the rest of it. It was a great interview. Try to catch the whole clip. I have faith in Russ Vogt. It's now Russ Vogt and OMB versus the lobbyists in this town. Let's see who wins. 5:53.